Today, we're actually going to be digging into the aid package that Congress just passed or is going to pass. This is a huge aid bill, but there's a reason and exactly why this is passing. And a lot of people are saying, well, why did Mike Johnson do this? What? We only have a 1 or 2 person majority in the House of Representatives. That's not a lot to pass anything in the United States. Mike Johnson knows this. He knows that the House of Representatives is in a tough place right now, and you need to negotiate with the Democrats to get things done. Because of the fact that we are short a couple people to actually make a difference, we do not get exactly what we want. And it's sad. It's sad that we do not get what exactly we want. But Mike Johnson can make the best out of the situation. This is exactly what he's doing. He's making sure the majority of Republicans actually want to pass aid for each of the following countries: Ukraine, Israel, and to combat China. All of these countries have to go through the majority of Republicans first. Then it will go on the House, and then it would be voted on as an aid package. Now, what they need to do is look through this aid package because of the fact that there's a lot of money going to dirty places, or there's a lot of money that's unallocated. That means that the government can use this money for anything. That's not good. We need to make sure that we're only giving money to the countries, or we're only giving enough money to countries to actually use it to their benefit, and that's it. We cannot be sitting here wasting money just because of the fact that we need to give our quote unquote friends some more money. No, that's not how this works. You use this money exactly for what we tell you to use it for, no more, no less. That's it. It's just annoying when we actually get to the situation because of the fact of it being sent over for stuff that has unrelated consequences or unrelated situations that have nothing to do with actually preserving their country. With that being said, we're going to be digging into the Demetrius Joe Show. We have that and a lot more in today's episode.
Facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
So moving right in, we actually have criminal prosecutions of illegal immigrants have stopped when COVID-19 hit. They never resumed. So if we look at this graph right here, we actually have in 2018, I would say 3,200 people were being prosecuted every single year. And we jumped, I would say, to 2018, I would say that is so that's around May, June, almost 10,000 people. And in 2019, I would say around 8,200 people. And then we bring ourselves to 2020, and it's a little under 5,000 people. Then we bring ourselves to 2021, almost nobody. We bring ourselves to 2022, almost nobody. 2023, almost nobody. In 2024, almost nobody. So what does this mean? Does this mean that crime has just stopped? Oh my God, like, it's so crazy. Crime just stopped. No, it's the reporting of the crime. It's misdemeanor illegal entry. Us not actually prosecuting between the years, I don't know, 2020 and 2024. I mean, eek. I don't actually know who was president during that time. Eek. Oh my God, we're not supposed to say that. President Joe Biden has largely given up on criminally prosecuting illegal immigrants for crossing the border, says the Daily Wire. With the number of prosecutions of serious immigration officers lower during every year of the Biden administration than any other Trump or Obama administrations, a Daily Wire analyst of newly released data shows. The prosecutions have stretched to a vital halt under Biden. In 2018, the Department of Justice charged 84,000 people with illegal entry, a misdemeanor. A total number charged with this misdemeanor during the entire 3-year period between the years 2023 and 2023 was 11,000, according to the Daily Wire analyst of Department of Justice data. Only 4% of the old rate. Illegals who re-enter the country after they have already been deported once they are committing a felony. In 2019, the DOJ charged 27,000 people with that crime. In 2023, the number is about half, at 14,000. This comes as a number of illegal crossings have skyrocketed, making the decrease even more striking. The apparent decision to rely on, at best, civil deportation proceedings instead of bringing criminal charges, particularly in more egregious cases, such as those who re-enter the country after already being deported, contradicts Biden's claims that he needs new authorities from Congress to order this to secure the border. Criminal cases against illegal immigrants especially ceased in April of 2020 when courts closed due to the COVID-19. In March 2020, 4,000 illegals were charged with entry and 2,000 with felony re-entry. By April, those numbers were only about 671. That's disgusting. And 960. Criminal cases for illegal entry remained essentially non-existent during the COVID-19 lockdown period of the rest of the 2020. At 13 cases in December, while felony illegal re-entry cases were at half their earlier levels. Well, you know exactly why this is. It's because of the fact that they do not want to prosecute during that time. It's because of the fact that they are going to use all of the excuses in the world because it was almost an election season. And then now, Joe Biden does not care about this whatsoever, so he's not going to increase the amount anymore. It's disgusting. We can actually see prosecutions of DHS crimes in United States District Court by fiscal year. So, 2010, a little under 40,000. 2014, a little under 30,000. 2016, I would say about 28,000. 2018, at 33,000 or so. At 2020, around 30,000. 2022, 25,000, lower than any other year in history. That's not a good thing. It's because of the fact that these cases have not gone down. It's the court cases by fiscal year. The change is not simply as expected difference between Republican Democrat administrations. Rather, Biden has taken a more lenient posture towards illegals than Barack Obama, the Democrat president for whom he served as vice president. Though detailed data only goes back to 2019, the Executive Office of the United States Authorities released annual statistics last month to make it possible to track a longer period. The data shows cases prosecuted by the Department of Justice pursuant to a referral by the Department of Homeland Security, though it doesn't include most misdemeanor illegal entry charges. They show that the number of illegals charged with serious immigration cases in each year of the Biden administration was lower than any other year in history since at least 2009. And that's not, I mean, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, that means that Joe Biden is doing a good job. No, that does not mean that Joe Biden is doing a good job. It means that he's not prosecuting crime, and that's illegal. That's not good. That's not saving our border. That's not making sure that our communities are safe. That's disgusting. Neither the Department of Homeland Security nor the Department of Justice responded to requests for comment. In 2011, the Obama administration brought 37,000 serious cases referred by DHS, almost twice as much as Biden did last year. After he won re-election to the second term, he lowered the number of every year, ending at 27,000 in 2016. The Trump administration took a few years to get back to the levels of Obama's first term, reaching 36,607 cases in 2019, but never actually surpassing Obama's peak. According to the DOJ data covering serious immigration cases, but it smashed records when it came to misdemeanor charges for illegal first-time entry. Although the criminal charge is less serious, it significantly captures a larger number of people. FY 2018, more than 68,400 defendants were charged with a misdemeanor illegal entry. This is the highest number of such defendants charged since EOUSA started to track this category, and an almost 86% increase from the previous year. The total is also more than 4% higher than the previous records of over 65,500 defendants set in FY 2013, the Trump administration said in a 2018 press release. Yeah, of course, because they want to start prosecuting crime even less, until there's no more prosecutions of any crimes, and then you can just get away with anything in America. It's disgusting. So, moving on to other things that are actually getting away with, or moving on to other things that people are trying to get away with, we have Gavin Newsom trying to get away with telling a news reporter what to cover during this quote-unquote election cycle. So, Governor Gavin Newsom, Democrat from California, pushed back on former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki during a Sunday news interview, effectively warning her to stop giving so much airtime and attention to former President Donald Trump. Newsom's interview took up the majority of Psaki's NBC show. inside with Jen Psaki. And while they spent a fair amount of time complaining about the Alabama and other states where Republicans have implemented restrictions and bans on abortions, Psaki made sure to take a few minutes back to attack Trump. But when she prattled Newsom to join her in the attack, he quickly applied the brakes. When we are focusing on him, I do worry electorally that he has a slight advantage. I'm a little concerned about the overindulgence. The consequential nature of the crime trial is profound and outsized in some respects, but not more outsized in democracy. Yeah, so of course, Governor Newsom is saying, no, well, let's not focus on him so much, because they know for a fact that everything was better under Trump. And Jen Psaki laughed as she brought up the former president's hush money trial that was scheduled to start Monday morning, asking Newsom to allay her fears that the case might actually work in Trump's favor. Quote, there was a criminal trial that got underway this week in New York City. The full jury was seated, but we were expecting opening statements on Monday. She began. It was this kind of chorus that's been driving me a little crazy, to be honest, suggesting that this case only helps Trump politically, and I'm curious. You've seen the first week. You're talking to an undecided voter about why this case should matter to them. What do you tell them? Newsom addressed the question briefly, saying that of course he believed that it should matter that one's party's political candidate was facing criminal charges. Okay, that does not make any sense because you're the one bringing him the charges. Okay, so two things can be right at the same exact time. I can see a lot of people attacking Trump for this, saying that they don't want to vote for him. Two things can be true at the same exact time. Number one, he's being attacked and targeted because of who he is. Stop saying that it's not true. It is true. They're only prosecuting Trump because he is Trump. He would never nobody would ever prosecute Hillary Clinton for her emails. No one would ever prosecute Joe Biden for his documents. Nobody would ever prosecute Obama for putting his documents into what we looked at as a old bowling alley. Nobody would ever do that. George W. Bush took home a lot of documents. We can see all these different people that took home documents. And then now you're saying that it can't be done when it comes to Trump. So yes. Also, at the same time, we have an overclassification process in America where we overclassify whatever we want. We classify just a regular document. And if you have that, then you have classified material. That's disgusting. And then again, we can see at the same exact time that yes, he did commit a crime, but if he was another person, let's just say Jen Psaki, former White House press secretary, or Karine Jean-Pierre, or anybody that's a Democrat, would he be prosecuted? No, he would not be prosecuted because they know for a fact that everybody does it. Moving on to the next article, we actually have a 13-year-old girl tearfully tells school board that she watched classmates brutalize female students. So this is a report from the Daily Wire. A 13-year-old girl spoke at a school board meeting and tearfully described watching a student use a Stanley Cup to brutally beat up a female student. The teen girl, who attends Pembroke Middle School, North Philadelphia, accused students of the school officials of failing to step in despite being warned hours ahead of time that the attack was coming. Redux reported that the attacker is a trans-identifying male who identifies as Malene. All of a sudden, all I hear was screaming and everybody running. All of a sudden, you hear these terrible loud bangs of a Stanley bouncing off a head. And then you'll see Mel grabbing her hair and hitting her against the table. There was blood going everywhere, the young student recalled. We had to sit there and watch them clean up the blood off those tables and the ground. And we had to watch them take her out with blood dripping off of her face. And we'll never forget that, the girl said with her voice breaking. The attack also yelled, "I'm going to murder you," repeatedly to students, she said. The violent incident played over in her head as she lays down in the bed, the girl told board members. The girl said that she was second on the attacker's hit list and begged school administrations to help 5 hours before the attack. The guidance counselor promised the attack will not happen, the teen said. Disgusting. Disgusting incident. Disgusting. This school should be ashamed of themselves because of this event. This is the video here.
Told her since I was second on the hit list, knowing that there was something going to happen, because there was a girl she was targeting every day at lunch. And they would go to the counselor and tell them every day that this is going to happen. And Wednesday I went with 2 others, and each of us filled out a whole paper full of what's going to happen and why it's going to happen. And then I went to chorus and I was told, watch your back. He is going to come for you and this other girl at lunch. And when I was at lunch, I was terrified, and I told Miss Fattori that that was happening, and she said, "Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen." But, and early that morning, I was told I was not going to see Mel for the rest of that week. But I was in lunch, and all of a sudden I just hear all this screaming and everybody running. And I see Mel running in after somebody, and everyone's screaming and running. But the girl who got attacked didn't see it because she was faced backwards. And all of a sudden you just hear these terrible, like, loud bangs of the Stanley bouncing off her head. And then you see Mel grabbing her hair and hitting her against the table and just repeatedly hitting her with the Stanley. There was blood going everywhere.
This is a middle school. This is a middle school in America. You would think that this is a third world country. We cannot get this stuff together. This is disappointing. This is disgusting on the school part. The school should be ashamed of themselves if they knew that 5 hours prior to this event, this was going to take place. Disgusting.
Right behind it. And all you see is blood everywhere. And it was just, and then you say in your email that it was 8 minutes, but we timed it, it was 28 minutes. And we had to sit in there and watch them clean up her blood off those tables and ground. And we had to watch them take her out with blood dripping down her face. And I will never forget that. And laying in bed last night, I just kept repeating it in my head, and we shouldn't have had to sit there and just watch them clean up her blood with the mop. Watch her repeatedly yelling that I'm gonna murder you and just hitting her with the Stanley. And I don't get how, you couldn't have stopped it. It was 5 hours from when I told you it was gonna happen and when it happened. It was 5 whole hours. I don't get how you couldn't have stopped that. And how Ms. Fattori said, "Don't worry, it's not going to happen. We have her under control." But clearly you didn't.
No, that's 100% right. That is 100% right. Because of the fact that the school knew 5 hours prior to the event happening that this was going to happen. They refused to do anything, or whatever they did do wasn't obviously enough. If I was going to be honest, obviously this guy that hit these other girls, or was targeting these other girls with the Stanley Cup, a metal flask, is going to get jail time. If it was up to me, this girl, or this pretending to be girl, this man would get jail time, serious jail time, the rest of your life. That's assault and battery with a deadly weapon. That's targeting people. That's planning out the event. That's like 4 different crimes right there. That's disgusting. The incident occurred at 1:20 p.m. on Wednesday in the school cafeteria. Police and first responders were called to the scene. Surveillance video shows a 7th grader, this is a middle school, walking to lunch along a lunch table when the student accused of attacking her runs up and begins hitting her in the head with a Stanley Cup, according to Upper Garfield police. The female student who attacked needed staples in her head and is on a concussion parole, police said. The incident is still under investigation. What investigation do you need? Prosecute the man that's pretending to be a woman. That doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't matter what happened prior to that. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. It doesn't matter if you say, "Oh, you're not a real girl." It's not. You're not. It's true. It does not matter what led up to that event. You cannot do those things. Any man, I was told for my whole entire life, men do not touch women. That's exactly it. If you want to say, "Oh, well, I don't like you," and stand up for yourself with words, and obviously defend yourself when it comes to that aspect. Like, let's just say if you're really getting beaten down or whatever, and it comes to worst, that's the worst situation that could possibly happen. But this is not the worst situation that could possibly, I would say that this is the worst situation, but I'm saying this self-defense aspect of it is not anything that was ever needed for this event to even take place. The man pretending to be a woman, which we do not have his name because he would be attacked no matter what. This is a 7th grader that now has to deal with not just one 7th grader, many 7th graders at lunch have to now deal with the repercussions of having PTSD over an event. One of their schoolmates having their head bust open all over the school cafeteria where they eat lunch. No other word to describe this. There's an insane amount of evil that's happening in our school systems. And our school refuses to do anything about it. And they refuse to even say, "Oh, well, we got this under control. How about you send home the mail?" And then for threatening remarks that he made, have an investigation immediately, and make sure that all of the other students are protected by sending home this man pretending to be a woman. That's a mental health issue. Look at the DCM-5. Disgusting. This was avoidable, and district truly failed to protect the students at Pembroke. One student told school board members, "What are we supposed to say to our children after this? How do I send them back to school?" Yeah, you can't. You don't have the trust of anybody now. The attacking student has been in school for 3 days when the attack occurred, the parents said. In a statement, Pembroke Middle School Superintendent Todd Beer confirmed that the incident had occurred, resulting in serious injuries to a student. However, he said the rumors are false and that the attacker was expelled from the school set for violent behavior. That's it. Just expelled from the school? No. You get arrested for like 30 years for this. That's disgusting. Learn your lesson. Beyer said that the school was working with law enforcement and families of the students involved. The school is working with the district-wide traumatic event response team to support the students who witnessed the attack. Yeah, the whole school. I mean, a lot of people are saying in the comments, yeah, man, these students would be better playing video games than actually being in school, because what are you learning at the end of the day? What are you learning? What? It would be better to witness this in a video game. At least you know it's fake. That's a sad, pathetic thing. With that being said, we do have a couple more articles to get to. We have the headlines of the week. Moving right into the headlines of the week, we actually have a protest happening at Columbia University. Now, this happened a few days ago. We did not get to cover it. So if we were to look at a Columbia University from the Daily Wire, we actually have a Columbia University decided to occupy the center. Well, a cadre of students at Columbia University decided to occupy the center of the campus and harass Jewish students. They yelled, "Stop killing children and go back to Poland," as the Jewish students were simply trying to get to their campus, from their campus back to their dorm rooms. Go back to Poland. What does that even, what? Go back to Poland? You mean go back to the Middle East? Go back to Israel? These people are just so stupid that they don't even know what they're talking about. They chanted for Hamas to hit Tel Aviv, and they tried to form a human chain to keep Jewish students out. One anti-Semitic student decided to stand right in front of several pro-Israel protests, suggesting that they'd be killed with rockets. Columbia University Orthodox rabbi issued a message to all Jewish students, strongly recommending they return home as soon as possible and remain home until the reality in and around the campus are dramatically improved. It's not our job as Jews to ensure our own safety on campus, and no one should have to endure this level of hatred, let alone at school. This is what a rabbi says. It's just a despicable event here that you're targeting people that have nothing to do with the situation. That's exactly what I get annoyed with the most. If you have a problem with our United States government, go to the Capitol. Make your voice heard there. Voice heard in emphasis there. Not your actions heard. No, make your voice heard. First Amendment purposes right here. The Columbia University, okay, so I already read that. These protesters were designed to harass and intimidate students in violation of all codes of ethics and conduct at the private university. Over at Yale, similar levels of anti-Semitic activity occurred. Additionally, Yale students were cheering as American flags came down, which is, you should be deported immediately, because that's a slap in the face to America. At Northwestern University, a dean of students attended an anti-Israeli protest targeting Hali, the nonpartisan Jewish student community center. Protest organizers were demanding that the university end its relationship with Hallel, which is just a Jewish community organization existing on campus. The revolutionary class is genuinely not a bunch of impoverished people who simply are trying to get to work and feed their families. Typically, it's an upper crust of elites who have nothing better to do with their time than to actually decide to join in these protests. That's typically what happens. All of these people have nothing better to do, so they decide to protest. They decide to target people that have nothing to do with the situation. It's just these protesters are not making the whole entire other side of the argument. So let's just say if you choose not to support Israel monetarily and say, no, I just disagree with this, and you're trying to make your point across. And yes, there's some people that have their point across because they're just isolationists. They just don't want to support anybody other than America. I can actually somewhat respect that opinion. I can respect that opinion because now you're saying, no, you know what? Let's look at America first, even though that we have our own budget in America, stuff like that. We need to focus on America first. We have things that we need to get done in America first, and then we can go and then we can decide if we want to support other countries first. I can respect that ideology, and I can respect that because if you're an isolationist, you're an isolationist. There's no changing that. But at the same exact time, these people have no grasp on reality. These people have no idea what they are even wanting because of the fact that if you ask them, well, why don't you support this? What do you support? What is the money that you would like to support to other countries? They just say, stop the genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide. That doesn't even make any sense. Can we actually talk about the issue at hand here instead of just saying slogans that the left told you to say? Because what genocide is happening here when those specific people that you're saying, quote unquote, are genocided actually have a population that is increasing over time. So doesn't make much sense here. With that being said, we do have another one. So we have Ilhan Omar's daughter actually gets suspended from her school because of the fact that she attended this Columbia protest. So, and it backfires immediately. So, and this is from the Daily Wire. Rep. Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, attempted to run defense for the anti-Israeli protesters, a group that included her daughter, Bernard student Isra Hussar, and got hit with a media wave of backlash. Omar, whose daughter was among the students that were suspended and detained for their participation in an anti-Semitic protest on Columbia University's campus, defended the protest in her ex-post, claiming that protest has been co-opted and that was the real reason that they looked bad. Quote, throughout history, protests were co-opted and made to look bad so police and public leaders would shut them down. That's what we were seeing at Columbia University. Omar said the Columbia protests have made clear their demands and want their school not to be a completion in the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Public officials and media making this about anything else or inflaming the situation and need to bring calmness and sanity back. Calmness and sanity? I know you're not talking about calmness and sanity, Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is talking about calmness and sanity, telling us to be calm and sane. Ilhan Omar, you have no idea what that even means, to be calm and sane. Those are two things that I never thought that would be coming out of your mouth. Omar's efforts to spin in the anti-Semitic protests were quickly met with rebuttals from critics, many of whom pointed out the fact that protesters were on camera shouting and chanting slogans that called for a genocide of the Jews and the destruction of Israel. Exactly. Inventing a conspiracy to blame on the anti-Semitism on and terror support of the protesters on police and others don't work when everyone can see the truth. He posted AG Humanitarian 29. It's almost hilarious the extent to which defenders of anti-Semitic mobs at Columbia are completely reliant on protesting. The numerous videos and witness testimony from Jewish students simply don't exist to preserve their narratives. Rep. Anthony D'Espedo, Republican from New York, added Ilhan Omar's this video, lots of it. These anti-Semites don't need police and public leaders to make them look bad. They're doing all of that by themselves. Only demands should be Hamas, surrender, release the hostages. I completely agree because they're still holding hostages. God forbid, if they are dead, if they're still alive today, they're probably dead. Referring Columbia's move to remote learning on Monday due to an increased tensions on campus, Ariel Azard pointed out, Jews are studying remotely because of Omar's daughter. Nothing was co-opted here. These idiots are always finding fascists and anti-Semites, including her daughter. Nothing has changed since the evening of 10/7. The Columbia protester demands are irrelevant because they are nonsense. They should be ignored and kick them out. I completely agree because of the fact that when you're shutting down campus, you're taking down parts of campus because of the fact that you want to make your quote-unquote voice heard. You're preventing other people from actually doing what they paid for in the school. Imagine going to school and then paying all of this money for a school and you can't even learn because people are blocking the entrance into your dorms, blocking the entrance into your classrooms. It's disgusting. Moving into another incident, we actually have Columbia president after 9/11 said that terrorism is a form of protesting. Now we can see here that obviously this is very disgusting. Obviously we know now why so many people are actually protesting because of the fact that the Columbia president allows it. So, just 2 months after the September 11th terrorist attack in the United States, Columbia University's president Mansour Savich remarked that terrorism was a form of protesting against a, quote, system, according to a video unearthed by the Daily Wire. Savik was a vice president at the World Bank at the time, was asked about the economic roots of terrorism in developing countries during an event at the University of California, Berkeley's Institute of International Studies, which she condemned extreme views held by the terrorist groups, and she said that the reason why they're so popular is because the terrorism is a protest. You'll always have individuals who have extreme views, Shurik said at the November 2001 event, but what's really troubling in the region is that there's actually quite a broad base of society which have some sympathy for the terrorists, not so because they approve of their methods, but it's a form of protesting against the system which is not delivering from them on the economic or political front. Okay, so they're going to what? Kill American citizens because of that? That's stupid. You're not going to target American citizens because you're not getting what you want economically in your own country. She also added that the economic stagnation and the political authoritarianism create fertile ground on which terrorist seeds can flourish. Okay, so now you're saying that what? Just because we're in a stagnation or an inflation, now we go and target other countries? We're in a stagnation and inflation right now. Are we going to sit here and target Honolulu in Hawaii because of it? I mean, yeah, that's part of America, but then it's not continental America. So what? We're gonna blame them? That's just stupid. What, are we gonna blame China? We're gonna blame China for our recession? I mean, we can blame China all we want, but is that something that we're going to go and target them for? No, that wouldn't make any sense. Rep. Elsie Stanfrak, Republican from New York, who has led calls for Sarek to resign as anti-Semitic demonstrations take over the Ivy League campus, told the Daily Wire that she believes the view of terrorism is informing her response to the chaotic anti-Israeli protests taking place under her watch at Columbia. The video of Columbia University President Dr. Mansourich Safrak saying that she can understand why people sympathize with terrorists right after 9/11 and calling it a form of protest is just further evidence that placating the pro-Hamas unsynchronized mob currently taking over Columbia is part of her core beliefs. Safrak must immediately resign or be fired by Columbia's board, Safrak said. A Columbia spokesperson told the Daily Wire that Safrak condemns terrorism. Okay, but is that a protest though? Is terrorism a protest against the government? So now you're targeting other people? Yeah, about that. But finally, we get to the article we've all been waiting for. So what's actually inside the Senate's $95 billion bill to aid Ukraine and Israel and counter China? So a lot of people say, well, I just don't get why we're funding all of these other countries. Well, it's the spending that we have here mostly is just taken up by just BS spending. If we were to look at the bill right here, we can actually see that from the Ukraine aid, so let's just say if we were to go to Ukraine, $60 billion was resignated for Ukraine. Now, only about, so compared to 60 billion, 14 billion is allowed to for Ukraine to rearm itself, and then $15 billion is to support military training and intelligence sharing. It also includes $8 billion will go to Ukrainian government to complete basic operations, and $1.6 billion to help Ukraine's private sector. And about 1/3 of the money allocated to support Ukraine is actually going to spend about in replenishing the United States military weapons and equipment that are going to Kyiv. The Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has repeatedly emphasized that point, saying that the statement on Tuesday that it is about rearming, a commitment to rebuild and modernize our military, restoring our credibility, and give our current commander-in-chief, as well as the next, more tools to secure our interests. This is about $480 million to help Ukrainians displaced by the war. Okay, why are we doing that part? Why are we going to sit here and say $480 million for you guys? Yeah, you need it, $480 million. No, the Ukraine can help themselves with that. We don't need to help them with that. So if we're going to be doing the calculations now, we have $14 billion this, we have $15 billion that, we have $8 billion this, and we have $1.6 billion this. So out of the $60 billion, we only have accounted for $40 billion, and that's on the upper. We have $39 billion, $80 million for actual goods and services. We have things that are accounted for. That's only in the amount of $39 billion, $800 million. So where's the rest of the money at? Where's the rest of the money going? We have almost $21 billion that is unaccounted for. Cut that out entirely. If it's unaccounted for, you do not need the money. It's unaccounted for. If we were to break down the spending for Israel, $14.1 billion. If we were to minus that out for the $4 billion that is going towards the air defense, and $1.2 billion that is going towards the Iron Beam, and then we're going to minus out the $2.5 billion to support United States military operations in the region, where's the $6.4 billion that we have left going? Doesn't make any sense here. We can cut that out entirely. And then we have $9.2 billion of humanitarian assistance to provide food, water, shelter, and medical care to civilians in Gaza. Why doesn't Egypt and Jordan provide these these resources? Why is America providing that to another country that's not even allied with America and hates America? Doesn't make any sense. Spending related to China. So we have $1.9 billion to replenish United States weapons provided to Taiwan, and $3.3 billion to build more United States-made submarines to support the security partnership with Australia and the United Kingdom. So, like I said, that's $8 billion related to China. We only have accounted for $5.2 billion, so where's the rest going? Other provisions also includes $400 million for a grant program that helps nonprofits and places of worship make security enforcements and protect them from hate crimes. Okay, so now that's part of the $95 billion, so almost $100 billion. It just doesn't make any sense. All the unaccounted for. So like I said, the first one that we had was $20 billion. So we could have minus that out of 95. So now we would only spend $75 billion at this point. So now the Israel, we have $6 billion that's unaccounted for. Related to China, we could have saved ourselves $29 billion just by leaving out the unaccounted for funds. Why would we sit here and fund something if we don't even know where it's going to? $92 billion that's going towards places that we have no idea where it's even going. I completely agree that we should support these countries because of the fact that it helps us with getting stuff here to America because we need to go through the seas. We have to go through canals. We can't go through canals if other world leaders that hate us own those countries, own those waters, because it's not going to allow our military boats or our boats in general get through that area. So it's going to help us, America, in the long run because of the fact that we're going to have open trade and we're going to make sure that we have canals open and we can get our stuff here in America. That's going to be better off for us in America because it's going to be cheaper to bring us our stuff through canals that we've always gone through, other than making a different canal, going through a different way, or just trying to go a different way that just does not work as fast and as efficiently. That's what the best idea about preserving the other countries and preserving the relationship that we have with our other countries so good. So with that being said, we're going to be digging into the media's takes, but before we do, I just want to talk to everybody about that very thing that I just talked about. This is very important, and a lot of people are attacking Mike Johnson because of the fact that he's saying that it's very important for us to spread freedom. I don't think that it's important for America to spread freedom. It's important for America to make sure that America has its way when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of the American citizens getting products. The American citizens actually making sure that we are put first. We need to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row before we help other countries. Yes, other countries are in war times right now, but at the same exact time, we need to make sure that the perception is better than what it actually is, because of the fact that the perception, we look outside, we have our economy falling down, we have our fentanyl crisis going off the walls, but then we look at this bill right here and we have us spending money in other countries. It's not good. It's not a good look. And yes, I completely agree that we should be spending money in other countries to help support them, because if we didn't, then they would fall. I completely agree with that. But it's the perception that a lot of people do not like. With that being said, we're going to be digging into the media's takes.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Give up on my way.
Okay, moving right in, we actually have a CNN article. We actually have Senate on track to pass $95 billion foreign aid package this week. We already talked about this. What does CNN have to say about this? Well, the legislation, quote unquote, ties together 4 bills that the House voted on separately in a rare Saturday session, providing more than $61 billion for Ukraine, $26 billion for Israel, $8 billion for Indo-Pacific. The first 3 bills are similar to those packaged that the Senate passed earlier this year, which House Speaker Mike Johnson has originally refused to bring to the House floor. But that doesn't make any sense though, because he did not. He actually did this separately to make sure that Republicans have the support, and then we actually bring bills on the House floor that have the support and the backing of the Republican Party. That's actually a good idea, because of the fact that we're making sure that our party gets exactly what it wants. If it does not want this, we do not pass it. That's exactly what is supposed to be done. So moving on to the next article, we actually have this graph right here that shows our government spending year by year. So if we were to look in 2000, we can see that the government spending was $1.7 trillion. Now we look at exactly when COVID struck and everything like that. So from 2016, Trump took office, 3.85 trillion. Then the next year, 3.98 trillion. 2018, 4.11 trillion. 2019, 4.45 trillion. Then COVID comes. We went from $4.4 trillion to $6.55 trillion. In 2021, we went to $6.82 trillion. Then 2022, we went down a little and $6.27 trillion. Then we went to $6.37 trillion in 2023. 2024, we're going to be at $6.88 trillion. The following, $7.09 trillion. 2026. $7.29 trillion. 2027, $7.59 trillion. And then 2028 is $8 trillion. Why can't we go back to the $4 trillion marks? We go back to exactly when life was great, around the $3.46 trillion. We do not need to be spending this much money every single year to be keeping our government afloat. If we do, then we need to massively cut everything that we're spending our money on in America, because we are spending way too much money. We do not have the amount of money that we need to actually do this thing. Jury consultants have already made their prevalence felt in the Trump trial. So what does this have to do with anything? We haven't seen a jury of consultants seated at the perceptions table thus far, but it's reasonable to suspect that 2 might have consultants it's working with. You may not have heard of a jury consultant, Joe Ellen Demetrius. Oh, that's my name. But there's a good chance that you heard one of her many clients, including O.J. Simpson and Scott Peterson, in Kyle Rittenhouse. She worked alongside the criminal defense teams as Simpson and Peterson, respectively, stood trial on charges of murdering his ex-wife and his wife with the Rittenhouse team, as well as he stood on trial on charges that he wrongfully killed 2 men at a protest that followed the killing of a police suspect. Okay, so no, that's not what Kyle Rittenhouse did. What he did was he protected himself. He made sure that where he was not going to get ransacked. That's actually applaudable. That's what Kyle Rittenhouse did. Demetrius became famous for developing the jury profile in Simpson's 1995 trial. She described the perfect juror for the defense in the case as a female African-American with a high school education or less. In her guidance, helped Simpson's team select specific individuals from the jury pool, including 6 African-American women, to hear the case. Simpson, who died this month of cancer, was acquitted. Wrongly, obviously. But the thing is, at the same exact time, there's nobody that has not heard of Donald Trump. There's nobody that has not heard of or has an opinion on Donald Trump. If you're pro, we do not want you. If you're not pro and you hate Trump, we do not want you either, because you're not going to be a perfect, nonpartisan person. That's what's so hard about prosecuting a former president. It's sad. With that being said, we do have a couple more Daily Wire articles. We have Biden administration declares that criminal background checks are racist against black people. So here's a statistic that if you have a job in corporate America, maybe the single least supporting piece of information you'll hear all year. It turns out that every single one of the Fortune 100 companies, 100% of them, has made public their commitment on DEI on their website. There isn't another single outlet in the top 100 companies in this country. Chris Rufo looked into this, and he found that they all have stock DEI page. Whether you go on Amazon or Target or Dell or Verizon or Home Depot, or banks of insurance companies or anywhere else, you'll find the same platitudes. The total total uniformity took hold respectively quickly within just the last few years. Publicly, the explanation for this change is that all of these companies have suddenly very concerned about racial justice. They're upset about George Floyd and so on. But privately, there's another very clear reason to it. The leadership of all of these companies understood very well that if they stop practicing DEI, if they start hiring all of their employees based on merit instead of skin color, the federal government will destroy them. This is a dynamic that normally plays out behind the scenes, away from the public scrutiny, but this week, in a very dramatic case, it spilled out in the open. The convenience store chain that has more than 700 locations all over the country was just sued by the Biden administration after they rejected the federal government's attempt to shake them down with a settlement. What was Surit's crime? You ask, did they sell bad gasoline, poisoned hot dogs? Did their name violate communications decency laws? According to the Biden administration, Sheetz broke the law by refusing to hire applicants who failed a criminal background check. What? That's disgusting. So if you hire people with a criminal background check, knowing that they're going to steal things, then that's against the law. But if you don't hire them, that's not against the law if they broke the law. Oh boy, that's stupid. That's stupid. So now what? Now we have to just go into jail cells and what? Now we're going to pick our candidates out of jails? Oh, well, what are you being charged for? Murder? Oh, that's perfect. Join my company right away. That's just stupid. That's stupid. This whole entire situation in America is going downhill real fast. And it's a sad day when we see this happen in our own country. In our own country, we can't even have decency anymore. We cannot have somebody that's been working their whole entire life for the position because it's being filled with a person that went to jail multiple times, is not at all qualified for the position, but merely on skin color, gender, ethnicity, and other factors. If you're gay or lesbian or transgender or whatever, they'll hire you based on that because they need to fit a certain quota. That's disgusting. No. None of this in America. That's a 14th Amendment violation. With that being said, we're going to end off this episode here. If you do like this episode and you do want to see more, I do upload new episodes of my show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye.